everybody. This is Scott from the fragrance channel, Scott Aromatico. Welcome. I'm super excited to have with me a very special guest. This very special guest, a model, actor, real estate developer, artist, I would say, business owner, master perfumer, Christian Petrovich. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me, Scott. Appreciate the time.
It's my honor and privilege. It's finally get to talk to you face to face. It's awesome.
Yeah, you usually talk to Kalana.
Yes, all the time. Yeah, she's awesome. She's a real asset to you guys.
Oh, yeah, she is.
Yeah, 100%. So Christian, what this is I just wanted to ask you, a few questions about what you do. At the very end, we'll do some fun questions and won't keep it so serious, just having fun. And this is a little series that I kind of started where I wanted to kind of bridge the gap in the community, kind of unite everybody. Through this little series, I've been doing some big content creators, some small content creators, perfumers, fragrance owners that own companies, and just kind of inspire, because everybody's got a point of view, everybody's got a different background, and just kind of bring the community together, because sometimes some of these people seem so far away on another level, and it kind of brings everybody closer together. And I've been getting a lot of good feedback, so that's kind of the purpose of this, is really just to inspire.
That's great, Scott. I mean, I like what you're doing. You seem to have a great heart, a great attitude. You're a perfume aficionado. You really like fragrance because you're putting a lot of your own blood, sweat, and tears and time into it. Yeah. I really like that and appreciate it. At the end of the day, that's what we're all making these fragrances for, people such as yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I wanted to do is, can you tell the audience just a little bit about you? It's, not like your life story or anything, but just kind of, are you married? Do you have kids? Where you grew up, where you live right now? Just kind of, short, sweet. You don't have to divulge anything you don't want to. Just give them a little bit brief background about yourself.
Yeah, I'm here in Dallas, Texas. That's where I reside. Originally from Denver, Colorado. Spent most of my life growing up in the Midwest. Lived in Michigan, Chicago, and have been in Dallas, Texas for about almost 11 years now. So I really like it down here. I like the heat. I got sick and tired of the winters. So yeah, as far as the fragrance, as far as that goes, because there's a ton of stuff I could talk about in between, but I don't want to bore you or take too much of the time. But really got into fragrances in 2014, almost by accident. Was part of modeling. I was doing a gig for a fragrance house in Prague, and somebody contacted a friend of mine and asked if I could make them their own fragrance. And at the time, of course, I wasn't going to be able to do that, but I do have contacts, and I did have a friend. I still have a friend from Morocco, and his family makes fragrances, and they've been in the business for over 50 years. So over the course of about 3 years, I went to New York and spent several months at a time learning under his tutelage. So that's pretty much how Argos got started, with my very first private bespoke customer. I made him I think it was 7 fragrances for his family and his businesses. Wow. He was an import-export tycoon from Greece. So we made stuff for his hotel and for his boats and for his family. So it was fun. It was kind of learning on the job, so to speak. And I had a great teacher, instructor, and we're still friends. And I still rely on him to this day for helping me finalize some of my fragrances and helping me pick some of the notes and ingredients and things. So again, his family, over 50 years of experience. I've really only been doing fragrances in the business for about 6 years. So still relatively new.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, launched the Pour Homme and the Perfume I think it was Christmas of 2017. The Perfume wasn't even finalized at Christmas time that year. So really, it was 2018 that I launched both of those publicly, and that's where the mythology and Argos and everything really came to light, as you know it today. So the original bottles were the cube ones. These were the very first 2, the OG. Actually, I don't even have the Pour Homme in front of me, but here's the Perfume, and you can actually probably see that a lot clearer on the Zoom meetings versus those IG meetings that I've been doing. So had the
probably can't see it. I've got the Pour Homme behind me, but
okay. So then people can see that on the video as well. But yeah, that was the beginning of Argos publicly, even though I'd been doing fragrances at that point for about 3 years, 4 years. So
wow.
with that, things kind of grew slowly. The name kind of got out there slowly, and then I really was ready to meet the world or introduce Argos to the world. And I launched the Italian line in Christmas of 2018. So really January 2019. I launched the Triumph of Bacchus, the Provvida della Caccia, and the Bacchio Immortale.
Wow, I didn't realize it wasn't that long ago.
No, it hasn't been that long. So
I didn't realize that.
We're really making a big impact in the fragrance community, and we're really not that old yet. So it's great. It's growing organically, and
Yeah.
I really like that. And that's why, I obviously like doing these lives and things with influencers and people that are into fragrance. It just helps. Every little bit helps get the word out there about Argos.
Awesome. You mentioned Greece. That's I actually have the island of Santorini on my phone because it's one of my dreams to go there one day. I've never been there. It is a dream of mine.
As soon as things open back up and they allow people to travel again, I can't wait to travel.
Yeah, me too. It's been crazy. Do you mind me asking, how did you get into modeling? How did that career start?
I started a long time ago. I started back when they did Polaroids. So it was
For headshots?
1996, I think, is when I started. I started modeling back up in Michigan and Chicago. I did a little bit in the Midwest. And then 2017, 18 went down to Miami, and then did New York, did a couple of New York fashion weeks. And then I just did some catalog modeling. And then when I came to Dallas, I kind of picked it back up again. I did some commercials, some commercial acting. I did like a Six Flags commercial, did some more catalog work. It's just one of those things that I kind of did on the side.
Yeah.
It wasn't my full-time ever, because I always knew, eventually that would, I would need a full-time. So I went to university. I went to the University of Western Michigan.
Oh, okay.
And that was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I got my bachelor's and master's in occupational therapy. So I'm a licensed therapist as well.
Wow. I should have mentioned that in the opening as well. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. I just got my renewal notice, so I got to renew my license. I still got to take my CEUs and take my jurisprudence exam and pay my dues. And I keep my license. I work too hard for it and pay too much money for it. So I'm going to keep it.
When you were going to school up there in Michigan, did you ever go to Cedar Point? It's an amusement park in Sandusky. It's pretty famous.
Yeah, went to Cedar Point.
Yeah, I'm from Cleveland, so I used to make the trek over there when I was growing up. Yep. Anyway, I was just curious about that. All right, so what was that like for you? How old were you, first of all, when you were modeling?
I think I started when I was 17.
Okay. And so what was that like for you, being a kid and traveling? I
was really young. Well, it was amazing. It was fun.
Glamorous.
It was a fun thing to do. And it wasn't as much money as everybody thinks it is, but it was fun. A lot of the parties and the trips were comped and paid for, and it was a good side gig. The commercial stuff, when I got into commercial print modeling and things like for Eyeglass Factory and things like that, those paid a lot more. And then when I did some commercials, some video commercials, those obviously paid a little bit more as well. And then most recently, I've been getting into acting. Took a little hiatus from that this last year and a half, mostly because of COVID. There was about 3 productions that I was slated to be a part of that all got canceled or shut down or postponed. So hopefully those will pick back up again, maybe at the end of this year or hopefully next year. So I definitely want to get back into more acting. I'm writing a book.
That's cool.
Will get translated into a script, and hopefully that'll be a film eventually one day as well.
Was it true that you were on the cover of some romance novels?
Oh yeah. Like I think 7 or 8 of them.
Wow.
That was another interesting. See, now you're bringing that memory. But it wasn't that long ago, really. It wasn't that long ago. I think the last time I did a cover was maybe 4 years ago.
Really?
I think, but it's interesting when you do it. This is really true. When you do photo shoots and you do video shoots, it's out there and it's out there forever. So people research it and they can find it and they can They can find all these books on Amazon. They're all romance novels. But it was, it was cool. It was fun. It was a great, 2 or 3 year period when I was doing the romance novel covers. And there's a whole following,
I know.
For the romance novels.
Some people have made amazing careers out of it, like Fabio. So
yeah. And that was really way before my time. That was back in the 80s, pretty much in the heyday for the cover models where they buku bucks. But when I got into it, it was quite a big deal as well. But we made some money, but on the covers and stuff, we split it with the photographer, and and it was fun. They had like book conventions for the romance authors.
Yeah.
So those were, they were all over the country. So there was all like a little circuit that you could go to and do all the book signings and things like that. So it was a big to do. I think it's kind of calmed down a little bit. I don't hear much about it anymore. I know they still have it. Obviously with COVID, they're not having the conventions last year. They might be having them again this year, but I really kind of got out of that about 4 years ago.
Yeah, I wonder if the internet's kind of killing off a lot of that print stuff, because everyone's going online and stuff for everything now, ebooks and all that stuff. I wonder if that's part of it.
Times are changing.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. There's a lot of ebooks, and the ebooks have really taken off in the last 5-6 years. So yeah, I'm sure that's you don't find books at the grocery store anymore like you used to, and the bookstores are closing down too. So.
Yeah, I was talking to George about him being in the fashion industry, and I was telling him how I kind of got into the fashion, how I got into fashion, which isn't normal for the way I grew up living with a father who was a mechanic and an auto body guy since he was 17. And my dad wasn't into that kind of stuff, but it was sports that got me into fashion, believe it or not, because I would watch the games and I would see Jordan go to a game in a Canali suit. And anyways, I was like, how do you find this stuff, or how do you find pictures of this? And I used to buy the GQ magazine that was this thick when I was a kid, and it would have all those ads, and that's where I would get my fragrances, believe it or not, because I wouldn't buy expensive fragrances. They would always have those samples in there, and then I would take them and rub them all. And that's where I would get my high-end designer fragrances, was from those GQ magazines.
I did the same thing. I got GQ magazines, and I was checking out the fragrances, when I was a teenager as well.
They're not as good as they used to be at all. It used to be so cool back in the day in the 90s, but it's not as good as it used to be.
Yeah, but definitely changed.
So I can imagine if I was good looking enough to be a model, that I think the most favorite thing that I would like about it is the traveling. Would you say that was probably your favorite thing about it?
Yeah. I went, obviously even like Prague, for example, everything was first class, paid for. I even had a private jet subscription from here to Austin for a while, just to go down there for commercial shoots, because if we had to be down there for a day, I needed to be back. So they just paid a subscription. So I would go to,
oh my goodness,
DFW and hop on a jet, go down there, come back, so yeah.
You've lived more of a life in your 20s than most people have their whole lives.
Well, I did a lot of that up in through my 30s too. So it wasn't something I modeled off and on. It was kind of, when I had time, or, when I, just like the bodybuilding, that was kind of a 4 or 5 year stint where I kind of went crazy with that and did some shows and did all that. It's one thing, I just kind of dabble in a lot of things, and it makes life interesting that way.
Yeah, there's a guy I listen to. He's a business investor. I don't know if you've heard of him. His name's Gary V. And Gary is in the wine business and everything, and he always talks about sample, just taste a lot of stuff to find what you love and what you're passionate about. So yeah, so how did you get into the acting? Was it because of the modeling?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I got a lot of requests to do. It was funny. I actually got casted this is back when I was bigger. I was about 230, 240 pounds. This is like 5 years ago when they were doing Terminator. I think it was Terminator. Yeah, it was the last Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they needed some body doubles. And then they actually contacted me for that. I was much bigger back then. And then also they were doing some bodybuilding ads, some funny stuff during the Super Bowl. and they needed some body doubles back then as well. So yeah, definitely the modeling led into the acting. And you know, I've done some small stuff, like when they did Dallas, the TV series here in Dallas. I did a couple episodes of that, and then you know, did some commercials. I did a TGI Fridays commercial. I did a Six Flags commercial. I can't remember.
Crazy.
I did a lot of commercials, which actually commercials pay really well, and they're relatively short, you know. And then I did a bunch of pilots. I did a few pilot series for some movies and for some TV shows as well.
That's
But
awesome.
it's kind of a crapshoot, you know. If you get casted as an extra, then it's just, you know, it doesn't pay much, and you're just kind of on set hoping to get noticed, or maybe get bumped with a speaking part, or if they put you in front of the camera as like the featured background where they're having a conversation, the main characters. So I did several of those. I did some small indie films as well, where I was a bartender or, you know, something like that. It was kind of cool, but it was like, it really, I got to give it to the people that are really trying to break it into the business. It's tough, you know, unless you know somebody or you went through acting school and you got, you know, you got connections and you worked your way up. You know, I know a lot of people that drive to these sets, you know, like Walking Dead over in Louisiana, or, you know, all these sets for these movies and these TV series shows, and they slum it. They sleep in their cars, and it's a lifestyle, and you're just hoping for that one break.
Yeah, I know some
and,
friends that have done that too.
And for me, I couldn't do it. You know, I just didn't have time. I was doing occupational therapy too, so I had a full-time gig there. I had a therapy business too, so I was doing a staffing company, and still doing some modeling. So like that, I couldn't really focus on the acting as much unless somebody direct cast me. And when you get direct cast, that means they've already found you. They saw your profile, your image, and you know, they pretty much read your acting or modeling resume, and they say, okay, we're gonna put you in here. This is a done deal. But going to castings, I never had time to do castings because there's no guarantee that you're going to get the part.
No, you're rolling the dice.
But you know, that's what you got to do.
Yeah,
it's not an easy business to get into. So
no,
the last movie I did was called The Wolf Catcher, and that was a small indie film, and that actually did really well overseas. I got my first award for that one. I got best actor, or not best actor. I was best supporting actor. I wasn't the main character. I was the villain in that one. So I got the award for best supporting actor, which was great for my first feature film.
Yeah.
Like, you know, feature film, not just an extra or, you know, featured extra. So,
awesome, man.
You know, with that, it kind of sprung into some other things, but then COVID hit. So, you know, things got put on hold again. But I have, like I said, I've got 3 productions right now that as soon as they resume, I'll probably be a part of those again.
Awesome. That's so cool. It's a full life already at such a young age.
Yeah, you know, it is fun. It is fun. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't, if I despised it or if it took too much out of me. It's just
you mentioned Dallas. What's funny about that is I don't know if you know this or not, but George Zaharoff's mother, she used to design clothes for the cast of Dallas back in the day.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
I need to talk with George other than on social media. We haven't actually spoke yet, but you know, he lives in Chicago. You obviously know that. You know that, right? Okay. Yeah. So I used to live in Chicago, and I'm very familiar with Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, every time I speak with him, he always speaks very highly of you. So I think he really appreciates your game.
One day we're going to run into each other. I don't know that. We'll do something.
For sure. Yeah, he's a one of a kind man. He's legendary. He's a lot like you. You guys are both very giving to the community, and that means a lot to the people out there, because we all talk to each other on social media about the different companies, and your 2 names are ones that come up a lot because of how giving you both are. So
that's nice. That's good.
Yeah, no, seriously, I'm not brown nosing it. I'm just telling you the facts that when we all talk amongst each other, you know, in the chat rooms or the groups or, you know, direct message, it's, you know, a lot of people are talking about either, you know, Christian or George. So
that's good.
You guys are doing things right.
I know.
I want to ask you, so because a lot of us who talk and stuff like that in the community, I think there's a lot of people that were so crazy and passionate about fragrances, but it's not something that just anybody can do or anybody can afford, or not everyone's a chemist or a master perfumer. They may think they can do it, by the seat of their pants. It takes some skill and some knowledge. How did you obtain that skill and knowledge?
Well, like I said, my friend from Morocco, his family, I basically lived there in New York for 3 months, the first summer back in 2014, and was basically there every day. I think it was 4 days a week. I was
Okay.
training with him, he was helping me make those first fragrances for that family in Greece.
Oh,
So summer
that's
of
cool.
2014, all the way through the winter, and then I came back again the next year for another 2 months, and I still travel out to New York and work with him on certain projects.
Okay. That's really cool, man.
So
'Cause
it was on the job training, and I
Yeah.
would like to, maybe someday, go to France or get some formal training too. I think that would be kind of cool to get formal training and go through that as well. But I'm
Do you
not
think you
making
need
my
it
own.
at this point?
Well, I think it would be cool, but I just don't have the time. And right now I can't even get over to France to get to my own lab. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm not making my own tinctures. I'm not making my own, ingredients. I'm getting all that already made,
Right.
and then I'm
Right.
blending and I'm macerating and I'm doing that. So there's, there's some that are actually getting their own, musk and from animals, and they're making their own. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
It's a different avenue, I guess, and
Yeah.
I just don't have the time for that or the capacity for that right now.
Yeah.
I'm building a 2,000 square foot lab here in Dallas. Hopefully it'll be done by this time next year. And I'm going to have some more vats and things, but I'm so busy with the fragrances that I already have going they're going into production now. I've got two that have been macerating for 3 months. I've got another one that's going in, it's starting to get blended next week. And that'll be the third release. There's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah. I know.
So,
I know it sounds like it with your busy life.
yeah. Well,
What's it?
and I
Go ahead.
wish, sometimes I wish I could the things that I envision in my head and the things that I want to make. And I'm an artist too. So I do a lot of my own drawings and things. I just wish they could be made. I just wish they could be spit out in a printer from my brain, but no, it's almost another art form, just communicating with all these different vendors all over the world and getting things made to spec the way you want them and having them all come together. I don't get everything made for me at one place. It's not like a one-stop shop. I
Yeah.
have 3 different plate manufacturers. I have 2 different bottle manufacturers. I own part of my own atomizer company. And, just being able to get all these people on board and get the products made and put together, that's a feat in itself. I didn't even think I was going to be able to get the 3 Italian line fragrances launched before Christmas of 2019. I
Yeah.
barely got those out, I think, right before December. So yeah, it's tough when you're doing it all yourself.
Yeah, but you're learning so much about it on the journey, along the way. It's not overnight success.
No,
There's blood, sweat.
it's going to get easier. It's going to
Yeah.
get easier. I'm obviously keeping the connections and the sources and stuff that I'm making along the way. And as things are growing, this will be in July. Probably the first week in August, I'm going to get my next 40-foot cargo container in. That'll be my 3rd one in a year. So I never would imagine that I would have had that many products coming in.
Wow.
And I
What do
help
you
unload it too. So
do you?
yeah.
That's awesome. What do you like about doing this? What do you like about being a perfumer?
For me personally, I've always loved fragrances. That's number one. If you didn't love fragrances, there would be no way to do this. And initially, you're making those first few fragrances. It was great to be creative, and it was great to make something for somebody and see their joy and everything. But for me now, it's just being able to integrate my love for art history and Greek mythology, and just being able to put that into something that it's a business and that it's getting all over the world. I think for me now, to know that my bottles are in Nigeria and Australia and Iraq and Kuwait and Russia, and it's just amazing. I can't travel right now, but my bottles are.
They're like they're so good. They're like actually owning art.
Yeah, and that's what I want it to be, you know. And people have asked me like, what's your goal? And I want to be the #1 luxury niche fragrance house in the United States. And the United States is not known for fragrance, obviously. Now, I do have my lab, and I do have a lot of connections in France with sourcing my materials and everything. But I'm based here, and Argos is a US-based company. So, you know, it is cool watching it grow. It is cool watching the community love it, hate it, tear it apart, whatever. But it's all good, you know. You can't make everybody happy, but
no, you can't.
Talking about it, and you know, I've had other people talk to me too, like, how do you deal with negative? You know, how do you deal with negativity? And it's like, I don't deal with it. I don't have time for it. I stay in my own lane. I would drive myself crazy trying to compare myself or the brand Argos to anybody else, or sitting there scrolling, looking at Dior, or sitting there scrolling, looking at Nazamoto, or, you know, I can't really focus on what everybody else is doing. I don't even smell other companies or other brands' fragrances. And that's one thing that does kind of suck, because I did have a huge collection of fragrances up until about 5 years ago. And then I slowly got rid of them. And now I don't even smell other people's fragrances. Which is kind of a buzzkill, because I really love that.
That's actually one of my questions, like, that's coming up. I was just going to ask you if there was anybody's fragrance that you've ever gotten your nose on that you wished you were the one that created it, or maybe another way to put it is was there one that inspired you?
You know, there's different things about fragrance through my life that inspired me. Obviously, you know, I still remember my dad splashing on Brut.
Me too.
Aftershave. My grandfather wore
Old
Polo.
Spice.
You know, and when he picked me up, I would smell that Polo, and I still remember that to this day. You know, he'd get the bottle for Christmas every year, and then when I remember stealing my dad's Brut and slapping it on my hands, like I saw, and I put it on my face, and I remember that burn. And then I remember, you know, some of the first designer fragrances that I ever bought when I was really young. You know, I get Drakkar or CK1, the spiciness, you know, so there's so many memories and there's so many things about fragrance that, you know, I can remember quite vividly. But I guess what inspired me to do luxury niche, it wasn't really like I kind of fell into it, you know, because I was shooting that ad. And then, you know, I just had somebody approach me to do it. And then, you know, it was wham, bam, the money was there. I had a friend that was making it, and it was a reality. It was just one of those things that it was, you know, and if it would have been another year of my life, maybe I would have even had time to do it. You know, I might have been busy on another project, but it just so happened, you know, everything, the stars aligned. It was kind of like, this sounds cool. I like fragrance. I'm into fashion. You know, I'm obviously modeling, and I had time. So, you know, it just worked out. As far as other brands, other fragrances that I really like, I can't really say any. You know, I obviously know what food smells like. I've smelled a few of the Tom Fords, but I really don't. For me, I look, you know, at the story, what the brand is about. I'm more into what the story is behind the brand, the owners, the packaging. You know, of course, I look at the packaging and I look at the stories, and I see what's out there all the time. Of course, I do, but I don't focus on it. I really don't.
That's one of the things I like about you, and one of my other favorite companies, Zoologist, is their art and their stories behind their fragrances. So good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, that's great.
Yeah. And that's like, you guys check all the boxes for me with the story and the art and how good the juice is. And the one thing I always say about Argos is, this is just my opinion, okay? And I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but when I go by businesses, one of the first things I look at with a business, if their sign sucks and it's falling apart and it looks faded, I always think that's an indication about what's going on the inside. And what I mean by that is I like people who pay attention to detail. And I don't know a lot of companies that pay too much attention to detail like you guys. You're in the top of people that do that. That tells me a lot about everything else that's going on in there. You know, that you care about the atomizer. If you buy a 30 ml, you didn't spare any expense on it. It's just as luxurious as the bigger mls. You know, the bottle's a work of art. The juice is a work of art. It just tells me everything I need to know about the company and where it's going.
Yeah, and you know, and everything is going to keep getting better and better and better. I'm working with this Russian 3D artist, and he's turning some of my artwork into just, you know, amazing 3D murals that are going to be like reliefs into the plate for the Hercules series. It's going to be amazing when those things finally come out. And then I took it in a totally different direction with the artwork for the artist line. And I put some enamels, some color, and you know, it's a little more abstract, and it's great to be able to be creative with the fragrance. You know, when I made the bottle design, I really left that plate recessed area on the front open for a lot of reasons. One of them was because I knew ahead of time that I wanted the freedom to use that space to be creative. You know, yes, I wanted a strong, bold bottle that would kind of resemble the column, but I wanted a space on there that I could interchange and make it different and kind of keep people excited. And, you know, maybe I want to take something in a different direction, like, you know, like the Hercules line or the Italian line, or
I can't wait.
line. And, you know, one of the things I'm doing for Mother's Day for the whole month of May, and I haven't announced it yet, but I'm putting Swarovski crystals on the caps into the Eye of Ra. So I spent about 8 hours the week before last on a Saturday dremeling holes into the caps and then figuring out how I was going to inlay these crystals into the cap. And then on the Perfume and the Homme, I'm putting it on the eye on the plate for the 30 ml. The Perfume and the Homme are getting upgraded as well. So when the next 3 come out in August, the Homme and the Perfume will be upgraded as well to the new bottle style.
Awesome.
So we're getting really low on the cube, so those are almost out. And when those run out, we'll start the new bottles. We'll start releasing those. So I'm excited for that. And like I said, the crystals are coming out for the month of May, and that's kind of like a trial run to see what the buzz is, how well they're received, how they look. I mean, I already know they look great. The bottle looks great already. I mean, I just want to give it a little bit more bling. And I had a couple mock-ups. I kind of went crazy blinging out one of them, and I might post a picture of that one with crystals going up and down the side and all over the cap. You know, I kind of went crazy on that.
I shared one of the pictures that you guys posted on Instagram to my story, and I put Rihanna's music "Shine Bright Like a Diamond" to it.
Okay. How fitting. You know, I love how Kulana always does that with the music too. She always tries to match it up. But and I see a lot of the stuff on Instagram when I have time and I scroll through. But we kept it kind of simple. I wanted it to even be more luxurious, give it a little more sparkle, give it a little bit more zhuzh. So we put the crystal on the Eye of Ra on the top, and then for the Forum Parfum, we're putting it on the eye on the front plate. So for the new 3 bottles that are coming out as well, I know we're going to put crystals in all the caps coming out. The new 100 mLs are getting upgraded to full metal caps, just like the 30 mLs. So they're going to be heavy, and they're already metal, but the neck is plastic. We're upgrading it to full metal. We're also upgrading. We're putting the crystal dip tube inside the 100 mLs, and we're using the pressure sensor sensitive atomizer for the 100 mLs that are coming out. So, you know, I listen to you guys. When you guys give me feedback and you guys tell me what you want, what you don't like, what you would like to see, I take that all into account. And, you know, like I said, the buck stops here, and I try to keep improving every little, you know, every time we release something, I try to improve on the past.
Yeah. No,
even if it's great, you know, I still want to, there's always room for improvement.
Yes, absolutely. Always moving forward. The moment you step back and see what you've done, that's when someone's going to catch up to you and it's over.
Well, you know, for me, like I said, I just focus on myself and the brand Argos, and there's so many things that I haven't even been able to release yet. And I don't want to release 7 fragrances in 1 year. I don't want to release 5 fragrances in 1 year. I've got, you know, I think 3 is great. I think a good feminine fragrance I think a good unisex and a good masculine scent is perfect. I like that formula. It did perfect for the last 3 releases that I did. So, I might only do 3 a year. I don't know, and we'll see. Maybe I'll come back and revisit some of the the new lines that are coming out. The Hercules line is going to take at least a decade to get done with that one. So that one's just getting started. We're only releasing one from that one this year, and we're going to do one for every year for the next 12 years.
Awesome.
And the artist line, there's so many artists that I've been inspired by, and that they have been inspired by Greek mythology, and they've done paintings based on mythology that I'll be able to bring to the forefront. Obviously, integrate the fragrance into that. Like the Nemean line, the first one from the Hercules line, we're going to make that a leather-based fragrance, obviously, because he wears that lion hide throughout the rest of his labors and adventures and whatnot. And you think about a lion, you think of the Sahara Desert, you think of something dry and arid. So we're really putting, we're not holding back on anything to make you feel like you're there with Hercules fighting the Nemean lion. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to match a scent to a story. It's almost like another dimension that you're able to add to a story and give it more life than it already had.
Mm-hmm. I always say that the best movies and the best music can transport you, and it's the same with fragrances.
Yeah, I believe it.
That's awesome. Let me just ask you some fun questions. I'll keep it moving, and then I'll send you on your way. I won't hold you up too much longer.
Sure.
Can you, before I let you go, can you give everybody out there who's aspiring to maybe do what you do or own a business or become a perfumer, can you give them any advice? What's the one piece of advice you would want to give them?
Well, know your business. One piece of advice: know your business. Know what you're doing. There's some people that have a lot of money and they just want to do something. They throw it at it. You're buying a stock fragrance. You're buying a stock bottle. You're buying. Everything's done for you. I don't recommend that. Obviously you have to do something that you're passionate about. Okay. You might not even know you're passionate about it. There might be certain things or aspects about it and you just kind of fall into it, but make sure that you're doing everything, at least in the beginning. Like I overwrap my own bottles. I fill my own bottles. I print my own bottles. I've learned so much about other things of the business by doing it myself. Could I have had somebody hired to do that for me? Of course. I could have spent $40,000 to have somebody pour all my fragrances, crimp my bottles, hand polish them, put them in the box, do the overwrapping. As I get bigger and I get busier and I'm releasing more things and I'm traveling again, and I'm doing more, of course I'm going to have to, put people in charge of certain aspects of the business. But in the beginning, when you're doing something, if it's something that you want to do long term and you're passionate about, you need to know every facet of the business. Okay. So you need, just in my experience with fragrance only, obviously blending and macerating and making the fragrance, but packaging, bottling, sourcing, all that stuff, even down to the social media, the Google, the analytics, WooCommerce versus Shopify, you need to pay attention to all of that. Otherwise, you're just leaving a lot on the table. You're going to get taken advantage of, or you're going to get frustrated. If you really want to grow a business and be able to delineate and outsource some of those things down the road, know it yourself.
Great. Thank you. That was more than I bargained for. That was awesome. All right. What fragrance are you wearing today?
Today I'm wearing Nemean Lion by the House of Argos.
Okay. I knew it was Argos. I just wondered which one it was.
Well, I almost was wearing a new one. There's one that I'm working on for the second labor of Hercules, which is I have to pronounce this correctly, the Lernian Hydra. We'll just call it the Hydra. So that was a tough one for me to make that fragrance. I've got a few formulas that I've been working and kicking around, but the hard part sometimes about a fragrance is really getting it to match a story. Yeah. And getting it, let me tell you something too. I found out so many things along the way on accident. I've fallen into new materials and new, new ingredients and things, and they just kind of like, they've stuck with me, you know, like some of the leather that I was playing around with before I released the last 3, I'm using that as part of the Neiman line. Of one of the releases that I'm going to be doing for next year with that Bulgarian rose that I was talking about, that expensive ingredient. That was something that I had messed around with when I was working on Bacchus and Mortale, and I took the rose out. I didn't want to have another rose oud. It would seem like, and you know, when you're doing business, you got to watch the trends too, what's out there and what's been released and what's hot. You know, obviously, you know, you don't want to be just something that's, you know, gray matter out there that there's too much of. So I took that out, and I found other raspberry notes too. There's, you know, there's sweet raspberry, juicy raspberry, there's tart raspberry, there's different types of raspberry notes that you can put in there. And I got that perfect one for the Bacchus and Mortale, but I found another one that I really, really love. And it just so happened that one smells so beautiful with Bulgarian rose. I can't wait to release that one next year. I almost wanted to release it this year, but I'm sticking to my formula of only releasing 3.
It must be hard being patient.
It is hard, you know, it's difficult, but then, you know, it's also a lot of work. If I wanted to release it this year, I'd have to finish the story, you know, which mythology story is it going to represent, has to fit. I have to work on the artwork for the box, the inner box, the plate artwork, you know, it's a lot of work. So, you know, would I like to release a whole bunch of them? Of course, but it's not reality, and it's not part of my formula right now. So you kind of got to stick to your guns, and you know, it's like, you know, anything else that you're good at in a trade. If you're working the stock market, there's certain things that you stick to, you know, and just like this, I'm only going to be releasing 3 this year. I'm not going to do 4 or 5 or 6.
You got to be disciplined.
Discipline is key. Yeah. Otherwise, you get spread too thin. You got too many projects going, and then things fall through the crack.
Absolutely. What are some other passions and hobbies that you enjoy other than fragrances? Do you have time for any such things?
You know, with the little one, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's really tough, and you know, especially with the lockdowns and not being able to travel. Travel, you know, was. You know, I can't wait till things open back up and I can travel again.
Do you do a lot?
That's inspirational. You know, we were supposed to go to Italy last year, and France, and Dubai, and Vietnam, and all these places. And I tell you, traveling is inspiration as far as creating.
It is. Yes.
And you know, I have my books and things. You know, I have a lot of art books and things, but they can only take me so far. You know,
yeah.
Being able to travel and actually see the statues and see the artwork, go to Rome, go to the Vatican, and man,
who do you like as far as art? Who's one of your favorite artists?
You know, I love Michelangelo, and I love.
Yeah.
As far as right now, I'm really into Rubens. I really love, you know, his work. But you know, I'm so moody. I've got certain things that, you know, certain times I like. You know, surrealism, or I like Baroque.
Yeah.
I like Gustav Kimlet. Obviously, he's the inspiration for one of the first 2 fragrances from the Artist series. So, you know, if you're thinking about Rubens and Gustav Kimlet, that's 2 ends of the spectrum. But, you know, some of Gustav's earliest work was really beautiful and really, I'm not saying all of his stuff wasn't beautiful, but just the detail and the realism of his early work, you should check it out. I mean, it's fascinating, some of the work he did for some of the museums.
I love Gaudi.
What you like, Gaudi? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Salvador Dali. I love him a lot. He's one of my favorites.
Yep, Dali's cool. Picasso. There's so many.
Yeah.
You know, it just depends on what mood you're in. And for me, really, I've always been into the works that had other meanings behind them, and they all seem to have a thing in common, that they were Greek mythology based. So that's awesome that I can, you know, be able to create this artist series and kind of showcase that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. Do you do a lot of drawing in your spare time, or?
I do drawings, but you know, not for. I wouldn't say I do drawings just to doodle or just for fun anymore. It's all pretty much work for projects that are up and coming.
Busy man.
There's only so much time in a day.
Yeah, and here I am keeping you from being productive.
Well, this is the perfect time. I've got some messages and some emails and stuff that I'll get to later, but this is actually a pretty good time. I got home and we got on this, so this worked out.
What's one thing people would be surprised to know about you, Christian?
Well, I'm pretty sure they would be. We already said that I'm a therapist. I'm a licensed therapist. What would
Yeah, that definitely was surprising.
think about that one for a second?
No worries, no worries. I mean, I think that answer is good, you know.
Well, I was into bodybuilding. Obviously, there's a lot.
When I asked that question to Steve Smith, the fragrance fanatic Steve, I had no idea he had a twin.
Yeah,
I had no clue. So that was a cool answer.
well, that is kind of cool. And I know they're getting to work together now on Kingdom Fragrance now, I believe. So
yeah, he speaks very highly of you to me. He's been very good, very giving to me. Very giving.
A couple times when I was down in Houston, and I've got family down in Houston. So I usually, if I know I'm going to be down there for a couple days, I'll let him know that I'm in town.
Yeah, he's very giving. Cool guy.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, just some silly questions. Like, what do you have a favorite movie?
I have several favorite movies.
Me too.
Depends on the genre. It just depends on the genre. I love the Godfather series.
Mm-hmm.
I love Devil's Advocate. I was a big Al Pacino, Robert De Niro fan. I still am.
Yeah.
But for action, I love a lot of action movies. But I like the trilogies and stuff with I like the series with the Godfather, how they went with Pacino when he was younger and De Niro when they were younger, and then when they were older, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I'm really into those, I guess.
Yeah, those are awesome. Mm-hmm. How about what do you like to eat? What's your favorite food?
Oh man, I like to eat.
These are the hard questions.
These are the toughest ones because I love Italian food. It's like hard for me because sometimes I'm into fish and sometimes I want some pasta and I'm part Italian, so
me too.
I gotta have my Italian food.
Yeah, if I was to have a last meal, I knew that was it, then I'd be getting homemade ravioli with meat sauce, cheese ravioli with meat sauce. That's what I would get.
Right.
Yeah, that's my go-to. What kind of music do you like?
Music, I was listening to I listen to a lot of classical, believe it or not, lately, just to kind of calm me down. I find that I can just think and I can still do stuff and be productive while I'm listening to it with classical. Mozart, Beethoven, Vivaldi. I listen to a lot of that, which I never listened to when I was younger. But when I'm at the gym or something, I'll listen to some 90s, rock or some 90s old school hip hop.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm moody. Like lately I've been listening to the Killers and I've been listening to who have I been listening to? For some reason I just get on these kicks when I'm at the gym. I'll just start listening to the Killers, and then when you put it in YouTube music, then all of a sudden they start playing other things that are related in that genre, so to speak. And Kings of Leon, it's just weird, just pops up, and that's all. That's what I've been listening to the last 2 weeks now for some reason.
That's awesome.
I might get on a grunge kick and I'll be listening to Pearl Jam or something. I've listened to a lot of music and I love a lot of different music. It just kind of depends on what I'm doing or what my mood is.
I got you. For me, when I'm relaxing, I drawing relaxes me, so I draw, and then I'll usually listen to. I like the crooners, like Nat King Cole, and stuff like that. That's what I usually end up drawing to. But do you read at all? Do you like to read, or do you have time to read?
Do I read? I hate to say this, but I don't read as much as I'd like to. I find that, I'm visual.
Mhm.
I'm everything, but I do some reading. Obviously, I have to do some emails, but
No,
and
I know, I
I
know.
have to read some contracts, and I think I've read so many things that I had to read, that I was required to read medical
Yeah.
books, and journals, and things like that. I think I'm done. No, I'm never done learning. There's always something cool. That's part of the danger of looking at things online. I'll look for something like a new technique with perfumery, or I'm looking up an
Mhm.
ingredient, then all of a sudden I get sucked into this rabbit hole, and all of a sudden it's 2 hours later and I'm just reading about something that I'm reading about pizza, and I was looking up something else, and it just I don't really have time to sit there and read a novel.
I know.
I look for things specific to what I need online, and I find them and I read them. I have a lot of art books that I if I have time at night and I'm waiting for someone to get back to me on WhatsApp, or I'm trying to get something done overseas, I'll sit there and look at some of my art history books, and I'll read about the various artists and the Greek mythology stories and things like that. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah, so I don't do a lot of reading, I guess, other than unless it relates to Greek mythology, art history, or
Okay.
fragrance, really.
Awesome. All right, Christian, I'm not going to keep you too much longer. I really appreciate you doing this with me. You've answered so many questions and you've been extremely insightful. And I know it's going to inspire a lot of people, and a lot of people are really going to really enjoy this. So thank you so much for being here. It really means the world to me.
Absolutely. It was great just to have a relaxing chat